Many people imagine a soulmate as someone they simply meet one day, but the deepest psychological traditions suggest something far more mysterious. Long before two people recognize each other, an invisible transformation is already taking place. The connection begins within the unconscious mind, quietly reshaping thoughts, emotions, choices, and even the direction of life itself. Today, we'll explore 5 hidden ways your soulmate may already be working in your life, without either of you fully realizing it. There are moments in life when everything appears normal on the surface, yet something deep inside refuses to settle. You wake up each morning, follow the same routine, speak with the same people, and continue living the life you once believed was enough. But a quiet feeling begins to grow. The things that once brought excitement now feel strangely empty. Conversations become less fulfilling. Goals that once motivated you lose their power. You may even begin questioning yourself, wondering why nothing seems to satisfy you anymore. Many people mistake this feeling for failure, boredom, or dissatisfaction with life. They rush to change jobs, move to a new place, or search for another relationship, believing that something outside themselves is missing. Yet the deeper truth is often found within. The unconscious mind has a remarkable way of preparing us for transformation before our conscious mind understands what is happening. It does not shout or demand attention. Instead, it creates a quiet restlessness that gently pulls us away from old patterns. This inner discomfort is not meant to punish you. It is meant to wake you up. It is a signal that your inner world is growing beyond the life you have been living. When this happens, familiar routines no longer nourish your spirit, because you are no longer the same person who created them. Think of a tree preparing for a new season. Before fresh leaves appear, the old ones must fall away. From the outside, the tree may seem bare and lifeless, but beneath the surface, invisible changes are already taking place. In much the same way, your own life may feel uncertain or incomplete, not because you are moving in the wrong direction, but because something new is quietly taking shape within you. The emptiness you feel is not always a sign that you have lost your way. Sometimes, it is simply making room for a future that has not yet revealed itself. This is why so many people experience periods of loneliness before meaningful relationships enter their lives. Solitude has a way of revealing who we are when no one else defines us. It strips away distractions and invites us to listen to thoughts we have ignored for years. During these quiet seasons, old emotional wounds often rise to the surface. Past disappointments, forgotten fears, and hidden insecurities ask to be seen, not to weaken you, but to prepare you for a deeper connection. If these burdens remain hidden, they can quietly shape every relationship that follows. As you begin facing these hidden parts of yourself, your perspective slowly changes. You become less interested in chasing approval and more interested in discovering authenticity. The qualities you once admired in others begin to grow within you. Patience replaces urgency. Understanding replaces judgment. Confidence begins to rise, not from proving your worth to the world, but from recognizing it within yourself. What once felt like an uncomfortable season gradually reveals itself as a necessary stage of growth. One day, you may look back and realize that the restlessness you feared was never your enemy. It was the silent force leading you away from a life that had become too small for the person you two were becoming. Every moment of uncertainty, every unanswered question, and every quiet feeling of dissatisfaction was gently guiding you toward a future you could not yet imagine. Sometimes the heart must first become restless before it is ready to recognize the connection it has been unknowingly preparing to receive. Real transformation often begins long before we recognize its purpose. Looking back on your life, you may notice that there were seasons when you started changing in ways that surprised even you. Perhaps you became more patient after years of reacting with anger. Maybe you learned to forgive someone you never thought you could forgive. You might have begun setting healthier boundaries, speaking more honestly, or letting go of relationships that no longer reflected the person you wanted to become. At the time, these changes may have seemed like isolated events, But profound psychological growth rarely happens without a deeper reason. The human mind is constantly seeking balance. Hidden beneath everyday awareness is a part of the psyche that quietly guides personal development. It understands that lasting relationships cannot simply be built on attraction or shared interests. They require emotional maturity, self-awareness, and the courage to be seen without pretending to be someone else. Before such a connection becomes possible, the unconscious often begins shaping your inner world. It gently encourages you to release habits, beliefs, and emotional defenses that would otherwise prevent genuine closeness. This process is rarely comfortable. Growth often arrives disguised as disappointment. A friendship ends unexpectedly. A relationship that once seemed perfect slowly falls apart. Plans you carefully made suddenly collapse. In those painful moments, it is natural to believe that life is working against you. Yet these experiences often become the very lessons that strengthen your character. Every disappointment asks an important question. Will you become bitter, or will you become wiser? The answer slowly shapes the person you are becoming. Many people search for love while carrying invisible emotional wounds from the past. Fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, or fear of not being enough quietly influences their choices. Without realizing it, they repeat the same patterns with different people, hoping for a different outcome. True inner growth begins when you stop blaming circumstances alone and become curious about your own reactions. Instead of asking, "Why does this always happen to me?" you begin asking, "What is this experience trying to teach me?" That single shift in perspective opens the door to lasting change. As your awareness grows, you begin noticing subtle differences in the way you move through life. You no longer feel the need to chase people who cannot appreciate your value. You become less interested in temporary excitement and more attracted to emotional stability. You discover that real confidence is not loud or demanding. It is quiet, steady, and rooted in self-respect. The more you understand yourself, the less you depend on others to define your worth. During this journey, even your priorities begin to change. You may start reading books that challenge your thinking, spending more time in reflection, or choosing peace over constant drama. The qualities you once overlooked in others suddenly become important. Kindness feels more attractive than charm. Honesty becomes more valuable than perfection. Emotional depth matters more than appearances. These changes are not random. They reflect the quiet evolution of your inner life. One day, you may realize that the person you were years ago would not have been ready for the relationship you truly desire today. The patience you developed, the wisdom you gained through difficult experiences, and the emotional strength you built during lonely seasons were never meaningless. They were preparing you to recognize a connection based not on illusion, but on authenticity. Sometimes the greatest gift life offers is not immediately placing the right person in your hell, but first helping you become the kind of person who can receive that connection with an open heart and a clear mind. There are moments in life that seem too meaningful to dismiss as ordinary chance. You think about someone you have not spoken to in years, and moments later, their name unexpectedly appears. You keep noticing the same number wherever you go. A particular song begins playing at exactly the moments you need comfort. Certain dreams return again and again, leaving you with emotions so vivid that they stay with you long after you wake. Many people quickly label these experiences as coincidence and move on, while others become so focused on finding hidden messages that they overlook the deeper lesson. The real value of these moments is not in predicting the future, but in understanding what they reveal about your inner world. The unconscious mind does not communicate through ordinary conversation. It speaks through images, emotions, memories, and symbols. This is the language of the deeper psyche, a language that has existed long before words were ever spoken. When something important is taking place within you, the unconscious often expresses itself through patterns that gently capture your attention. These symbols are not commands telling you exactly what will happen next. Instead, they are invitations to become more aware of the changes unfolding inside you. Consider how dreams often combine familiar faces, strange places, and powerful emotions into stories that seem confusing at first. Although the events may not be literal, The feelings they awaken often point toward hidden truths. A recurring dream about searching for someone may reflect a longing for emotional wholeness, rather than a specific person. A dream of crossing a bridge may symbolize your movement from one stage of life to another. The unconscious wraps its wisdom in symbolic images because symbols reach parts of us that logical explanations cannot always touch. The same is true in everyday life. You may repeatedly encounter the same type of people, face similar challenges, or find yourself drawn to books, ideas, or conversations that all explore the same themes. At first, these repetitions seem accidental, yet over time, they begin forming a pattern. Rather than asking, "Why does this keep happening to me?" it can be more meaningful to ask, "What part of myself is asking to be understood through this experience?" That question shifts your attention from chasing external signs to exploring your own inner development. Sometimes people become so fascinated with signs that they forget the purpose behind them. They search endlessly for confirmation that someone is thinking about them, or that destiny is sending secret messages. But genuine psychological growth requires something more than collecting coincidences. It asks for reflection. Every meaningful symbol becomes valuable only when it encourages greater self-awareness. Without reflection, even the most extraordinary experience remains only an interesting story. With reflection, an ordinary moment can become the beginning of profound personal insight. As you become more attentive to your inner life, your perception of the world begins to change. You notice connections where you once saw only randomness. You become more sensitive to your intuition, without abandoning reason. You learn to pause before reacting, allowing hidden emotions to reveal themselves instead of pushing them aside. This quiet awareness creates space for wisdom to emerge naturally. The patterns you encounter no longer serve as predictions about your future. Instead, they become mirrors, reflecting the person you are gradually becoming. Over time, you may realize that the most important signs were never directing your attention toward another person alone. They were gently guiding you back to yourself. Every recurring symbol, every meaningful coincidence, and every unforgettable dream encouraged you to listen more closely to the quiet voice within. As your understanding deepens, what once seemed like random events begins to reveal a remarkable truth. The deepest journey is not about chasing mysterious signs in the outside world, but about recognizing the silent transformation taking place in your own soul. Many people imagine that finding a soulmate means finally discovering someone who brings endless happiness and removes every fear. It is a comforting idea, but real emotional connection rarely begins that way. Before two people can truly meet in a meaningful way, something unexpected often happens within. Hidden fears begin to rise to the surface. Old memories that seemed forgotten suddenly return. Emotions you believed you had overcome appear once again, sometimes stronger than before. It can feel confusing, as though life is moving backward instead of forward. Yet these moments are often signs that your inner world is inviting you to face what has been, quietly shaping your relationships all along. Every person carries unseen emotional patterns formed through past experiences. Some were created in childhood, while others developed through heartbreak, disappointment, rejection, or betrayal. Over time, these experiences become silent beliefs about ourselves and the world around us. You may begin believing that you are not worthy of lasting love, that people always leave, or that opening your heart only leads to pain. These beliefs often remain hidden beneath the surface, influencing your choices without your awareness. They become invisible barriers that prevent genuine closeness, even when the opportunity for real connection is standing right in front of you. This is why the approach of meaningful love can feel surprisingly uncomfortable. Instead of bringing immediate peace, it often exposes the fears you have spent years avoiding. If you fear rejection, every moment of uncertainty may feel overwhelming. If you fear abandonment, even small moments of distance can seem like proof that history is repeating itself. If you fear vulnerability, you may find yourself pulling away just as someone begins getting closer. These reactions are not evidence that something is wrong with the relationship itself. More often, they reveal the unfinished emotional work waiting to be understood within you. The human mind naturally protects itself from pain. it builds emotional walls to prevent old wounds from being reopened. At first, these defenses seem helpful because they reduce the risk of being hurt again. But over time, the same walls that keep pain out also keep genuine intimacy from entering. You cannot fully receive love while remaining completely hidden behind fear. Real connection asks for honesty, not perfection. It asks for the courage to let another person see both your strengths and your uncertainties. Facing these hidden parts of yourself is rarely easy. It requires patience and a willingness to observe your emotions instead of immediately reacting to them. Rather than asking why someone else's actions affect you so deeply, you begin exploring what those feelings reveal about your own inner world. You notice recurring emotional patterns instead of blaming each new situation. With every moment of honest reflection, you loosen the grip of old fears and create space for healthier responses. As this awareness grows, something remarkable begins to happen. The parts of yourself that once felt broken slowly become sources of wisdom. Compassion replaces self-criticism. Understanding takes the place of shame. You stop measuring your worth by someone else's approval and begin recognizing that your value has never depended on another person's acceptance. Emotional strength no longer comes from pretending you are fearless. It comes from knowing that fear does not have to control your decisions. In time, you realize that the greatest obstacle was never the absence of love, but the unseen barriers you carried within yourself. Every uncomfortable emotion, every hidden insecurity, and every painful memory offered an opportunity to understand yourself more deeply. By facing these inner shadows with honesty instead of avoidance, you prepare your heart for a connection built not on illusion or fear, but on authenticity, trust, and the quiet confidence that comes from truly knowing yourself. When you look at your life one day from a distance, you may notice that the moments you once called accidents seem strangely connected. A decision you almost did not make, a place you nearly chose not to visit, or a conversation you never expected to have may later reveal itself as an important turning point. At the time, each event appeared ordinary. There were no dramatic signs, no clear announcements, and no certainty about where the path would lead. Yet with the passing of time, those scattered moments begin to form a picture that only becomes visible in hindsight. Life rarely unfolds in a straight line. We often imagine that meaningful experiences arrive exactly when we want them to, but personal growth follows a different rhythm. There are seasons of waiting, seasons of uncertainty, and seasons when everything seems to be changing without explanation. During those periods, it is easy to believe that you have lost direction. You question your decisions, doubt your instincts, and wonder whether you have missed the opportunity that was meant for you. Yet many of the most important changes begin quietly, long before you understand their purpose. Think about the unexpected choices that have shaped your own journey. Perhaps you accepted a new job that seemed unrelated to your dreams. Maybe you ended a relationship that had become familiar, but no longer helped you grow. You may have moved to a different city, started a new hobby, or picked up a book that completely changed the way you viewed yourself. None of these moments may have felt extraordinary at the time. They were simply small decisions made one day after another, but each one gently redirected your path toward a future you could not yet imagine. The unconscious mind has a remarkable ability to guide us through subtle inner impulses rather than dramatic certainty. Sometimes you feel an unexplainable desire to explore something new. At other times, you lose interest in places, habits, or relationships that once felt essential. These quiet changes are not always random. They often reflect an inner movement toward greater authenticity. As your understanding of yourself deepens, your outer life slowly begins to align with that inner transformation. Many people spend years searching for signs that destiny is leading them toward a specific person. Yet the deeper lesson is often found somewhere else. Instead of asking whether life is bringing someone closer to you, it can be more meaningful to ask whether life is bringing you closer to your most authentic self. The healthier, wiser, and more emotionally honest you become, the more naturally your relationships begin to reflect those same qualities. Genuine connection is not simply about finding the right person. It is also about becoming someone who can recognize and nurture that connection when it arrives. There will always be moments when the path ahead feels uncertain. You may not understand why certain doors close, while unexpected opportunities suddenly appear. You may wonder why some people leave your life, just as others quietly enter. Although these experiences can feel confusing in the moment, they often remove what no longer belongs, so that something more meaningful has room to grow. Every ending creates space for a new beginning, even when that truth is difficult to see. As time passes, you may discover that what appeared to be random events were actually gentle invitations leading you toward a life that reflected your deepest values. Every challenge strengthened your character. Every disappointment refined your understanding. Every unexpected change helped shape the person you were becoming. The journey was never only about reaching another soul. It was also about awakening your own. And when those two paths finally meet, you may realize that the quiet guidance you experienced all along was not pushing you toward a single moment, but patiently leading you toward the fullest expression of who you were always meant to become. The greatest mystery isn't whether your soulmate exists. The greater question is whether you've noticed how your own inner world has already begun, changing because of a connection you cannot yet fully see. Sometimes the most powerful love story begins long before two people ever say hello. Thank you for spending these moments with me. If this message resonated with your heart, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Until next time, keep exploring the deeper truths within yourself, and take care.